is Lan.
Gina Patterson.
Hi, my name's JJ Orsak.
I am Jen. I was burned when I was 25.
Some people call me Dre. I was burned when I was 20.
Jeremy Brandon. I was born. What am I talking about?
Burn injuries can steal so much, but these survivors, their friends, and their partners are here to try and get something back.
I believe that everyone deserves a healthy, joyful sex life. There is a lot of joy and love around that, not just sex, but the intimacy as well. And so I'm not willing to give that up in my life, and I don't think anybody else should because of a burn injury.
I was looking in the mirror, I was showing him my scars. I was like, man, I think it would look cool if I got, super buff or whatever. I'd be like a buff zombie or something.
Here in Dallas at the Burn Model System at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, the Burn Support Group is meeting to talk about sex and intimacy.
But, I'm joking about that, but really, I was trying to increase my sexual value. I wanted to be attractive to a woman.
This group has been meeting monthly for years under the guidance of Dr. Radha Halavanahali.
We need to normalize this. We need to talk about it.
Sexuality and intimacy with burn injuries have not been as openly discussed as it has been in many other injury populations. And I think there is a lot of fear and shame and awkwardness. There is so much of avoidance of this topic. And I think there is no reason to keep it that way.
How many years did I spend depriving myself of the natural enjoyment of sexualities and orgasms and all the things that comes with it because I was afraid of what it looked like. And I wish that we had talked about it.
For many of our burn survivors, sexuality is a core part of their being. It's as important as handwriting or driving or working. And it's critically important that we address it and do whatever we can to make sure that their return to sexuality is satisfactory.
Dr. Karen Kowalski and Dr. Halavanahali run the North Texas Burn Rehabilitation Model System. It's one of 4 burn injury model system centers funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. These model system centers conduct research and provide innovative treatments for people with burn injury.
With sexuality and intimacy, they might be having a lot of challenges. Some burn survivors need help to talk it through and find help. And some burn survivors need to actually go back to their doctors, their providers, or their therapists and find out what's actually hindering them.
And I'm scheduled for my 3rd surgery. I had no idea.
There's a lot of potential problems that people have when you're talking about sexuality after an injury.
Here's surgeon Stephen Wolf.
There's anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, psychology, and emotional things, and all of that comes together.
It sometimes takes a multidisciplinary team to help, and there can be an initial hurdle.
The whole topic of sexuality and intimacy is complex, and sometimes people are embarrassed by the conversations. That's both with providers and patients. What we hope to do is to give people permission. It's okay to talk about this.
If we can break down this communication barrier, we really can resolve these problems for our burn survivors. That's true across all communities. It's true for the gay population, the straight population, trans. Physicians are very comfortable talking about medical problems.
It can also be incredibly helpful to talk with other burn survivors who can offer strategies, validation, and hope.
For years, I'll keep thinking that I don't think I will be able to date again. I don't think I'll be able to sleep with any man again because I'm just afraid of my scar. And I'm just shut that line down without giving myself a chance or somebody else a chance to know me beyond my scar.
So my burn injury is over 60 years, and I'm currently in a new relationship, and it was terrifying to express that my body is completely burned.
Cindy Rudder is Dr. Halavanahali's partner in this effort to get people talking about sex. She leads workshops all over the country.
We can't have anybody else accept us until we accept ourselves, right? And we've got to accept and love our bodies the way they are, and our bodies are different. So you need to be forthcoming, but there's that fear of, if I say it, are they still going to want to be with me, right? That fear of rejection, which is huge. But I don't think our burns define us as human beings. And Sarah, your boyfriend, he obviously saw, I mean, I'm watching him glow when he looks at you.
We talked for a lot before we met. And we met, went on a couple dates, and she finally kind of told me about her burns. And, you know, for me, it was kind of like, oh, you know, it was intriguing more than anything because we had already built this great, you know, relationship on all these interests we had and everything. So, you know, it just kind of, you know, for me, it didn't play that big of a factor. You know, I fell in love with her. You know, the scars are a secondary. So,
I mean, I'm going through almost 9 years. Well, I would say almost 9 years without sex. And then I determined, it's like, well, I'm missing something. I think I'm missing something. And anyway, I just started dating again.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. And he would freak out. First, he saw my scar. He did freak out. He's just like, wow, that's a lot. You know, I told you, it was like, it's a lot. But it's like, wow, it's a lot. Yes, it took him a few days to process. Honestly, he did share that part. And I was crying. I was in tears that he overcome that. And he come back to me and he's like, but I'm interesting. I want to check you out more. So more. You had more.
Experts say that there are some people who don't want to have sex or need to have sex, and that's okay too. In the early stages after a burn, it's certainly normal for sex to not be on anyone's mind. Juan and Ariel were in a new relationship when his accident happened.
I was worried, you know, what is she gonna think? Because I mean, when I woke up from my coma, I seen her. I was surprised to actually see her. You know, to me, I thought she was gonna leave me behind and everything, and I was surprised she was there.
I did everything I could to make him feel better. If I wasn't shy about touching him, if the parts that I could, you know. Of course, if it was causing him pain, I wasn't gonna touch him there. But I pretty much just waited for him.
So when it came time, you know, I didn't want to mention it. First, I didn't want to mention it because one of the things was I was on medication too, so I kind of had trouble getting aroused.
Physiologic components can include side effects from medications. So antidepressant medications specifically can interfere both with sexual desire and sexual performance. We want to try to find a medication that doesn't have side effects for an individual so that they can enjoy normal sexual activity and function.
At first it was hard because, I mean, I have HO on both of my arms, so I couldn't grab her around, hug her and stuff like that. And the positions we were trying to do it was difficult, man. I mean, first I pretty much had to lay down there like a stick, and she was doing all that work for the first year.
In spite of the issues with medication and the scarring limiting Juan's arm movements, they just had their second baby.
But one thing that we had always had was communication. I mean, I think that's really the main thing. You know, you got to talk to your partner.
So update me on how things are going.
So far, so good. So just switched jobs.
Jennifer Bell Matthews was burned in a house fire in 2010. Her recovery was challenging, and she credits Dr. Kowalski with saving her life. As they're catching up, Dr. Kowalski makes sure to ask specifically about sex to give Jennifer an opening to talk about it, if she'd like to.
So tell me how things are going. Are there issues with sex or intimacy or creating a relationship?
Just with the double mastectomy issue, that was really rough for me. Trying to get back into how do you feel sexy? What do you tell the other person when you're trying to get intimate and you're like, whoa, I don't have any boobs? Do you tell them 6 months ahead of time? Do you tell them right before so they can't back out?
So it's very important for the professionals to initiate this conversation because it kind of wipes away the fear on the patient's part. The survivor and the families, they are concerned about it, but they may be kind of nervous to bring it up, and they might also think that this is not appropriate. But it helps in the recovery process to go through all the facets of one's life that can affect one's quality of life.
For him, it was a mindset thing. We've become more intimate than anything, and we've always been touchy-feely. And
Sharon Orsak's husband, JJ, was burned only a year ago, so the feelings are still very raw for her.
I was working in a aerial lift, replacing parking lot lighting, accidentally got into a 7,000 volt high line and lived through it, but am paying the cost.
The burns put JJ in the hospital for 2.5 months. He was burned across his torso and pelvic area, and he lost both of his arms.
the thing I guess I miss the most is holding his hand. And he used to love running his fingers through my hair, and I miss that too.
A year later, JJ has made a remarkable recovery in many ways, and he and Sharon are hopeful that a third surgery will help with genital scarring. For now, they're trying to negotiate an intimate life together without intercourse. To get some advice about that, they'll be visiting with occupational therapist Ashley Overturf.
Of course, we're gonna go right. We look at sexual activity as kind of a function of daily life. It may not be the most important part of our daily life, but it's definitely something that is important in its right moments. Because most couples have a sort of a pattern of how they engage sexually, and so kind of broadening your horizon and saying like that might not be possible, but there are other ways, right? And it may be that sexual intercourse itself is not an option at this point, but other forms of sexual interaction are.
Just play a little bit in the shower.
Yeah, good. Good. So I think those kind of moments, like creating that romance, you forgot. Creating that romance is really important, right? So the ability to sort of venture out and say like, this might seem a little weird or a little different than what we're used to, but let's try this, right? A lot of times it's a change in how you position yourselves, and I think that's one thing that a therapist can really help with.
One of the emotional challenges that a lot of couples have to deal with is the change in roles.
They say, my partner is my caregiver now. I don't feel that sexual connection anymore. I've lost the desire. But I think through small ways of keeping that intimacy intact, even as they're receiving treatment, would go a long way in their relationship. Sometimes even just gazing into each other's eyes, just the smile. That is such a good feeling, you know, when you show that connection to that other person. It helps in the recovery too. And for both, they both feel good emotionally, and so you feel that you're in it together.
JJ's affectionate nature made this easier for the Orsaks than it might be for some couples.
Our connection was still there once he did come out of his drug-induced coma. When I walked into the room, he kind of picked his head up out of the bed and puckered up his lips. And I was like, "Aw, baby."
And that intimacy has meant the world to both of them.
It makes me comfortable and secure that my wife is okay with my new body, my new limitations, and all my scars, that she still loves me for me.
The intercourse part of it will come one day, and if it doesn't, then I'm fine with that, because that's not why I love him, you know. I love him because of you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was very intense and emotional. It takes a lot of courage, but it's so heartwarming to see you both so intimately involved with each other.
I think it's it's important for burn survivors to think about the trauma that they have been through and the tragedy of their event, and that their life can still be an incredible living experience. And why have an additional tragedy and not enjoying a life filled with sexuality and intimacy?
I definitely believe that I deserve a great life that is full of happiness and joy. I feel that I deserve a life that is full of great intimacy and, of course, great sex.
For the last probably 7 years, I've had a fortress built around myself. And I met a man. I had forgotten, to be quite honest, what a joyous feeling it is to be in a relationship and to be alive again. And this has brought, again, immeasurable joy and healing to my life.
Burn Injury Model System Centers provide coordinated and multidisciplinary care and conduct research to improve care and outcomes for people with burn injury. This video is a product of the Model Systems Knowledge Translation Center in collaboration with the North Texas Burn Rehabilitation Model System, funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. To learn more about the work of the Burn Injury Model System Centers, please visit msktc.org.